Street Q6 in Palmdale,
Mm-hmm.
and next door there's all the house with the same, and this Lockheed test pilot lived next door to us. One time, you remember that it was the F-94 had a real long spout on the nose of it, and it had a lot of probes in there and tested various things. And he was flying that thing one morning, and something happened. He went down, and so he got killed.
He was your neighbor, huh?
Yeah, that's right next door.
Wow.
So I never like to talk about my being around this dead stuff, dead people.
Oh
Yeah.
When you did the accident
Because I had
investigation.
all those accidents I investigated in Las Vegas and
Yeah, I used to
wherever.
investigate plane crashes.
Yeah, you showed me all those pictures.
Oh yeah.
That one time you brought out that photo album. You were showing me all those the accidents. And tell me about that. So
So
guess it's
some
an
of
important
those-
job though.
It is,
So.
yeah.
that's some of those gory scenes were pretty bad, I'll tell you. But that was part of my job.
Were those all military aircraft, or were they civilian aircraft too?
They're all military.
All military.
Except one. It was called the Guppy.
Oh, the Guppy.
Oh, I know that one.
I've heard of that.
You heard the Guppy?
Yeah, it's a big one, right?
They built it down in Santa Barbara.
Uh-huh.
They took the nose. They took the nose on Strata Cruiser and put the T-56 turboprops on it. Because of the old engines weren't powerful enough, and they could haul much bigger load and everything. So I was driving to work at Edwards Air Force Base one time, looked over and right at the end of the runway, there was smoke coming up and all that, and gee, that was a Guppy. I kind of forget what he did wrong. I think they were trying to take off at landings with a number 4 feathered, all feathered. Something happened on takeoff here. I think he shut down the wrong engine. Number 3 and 74. And it landed so hard and at the runway at Edwards. So I got to the base. I went out there. I looked up and then you could see the steps going up. There was a flight engineer sitting in. He had a panel all by himself because test airplane had their own panel, and they did all this was wired for all different
controls and tests.
Anyway, he was sitting there dead in the tennis for me. Birds are crisp.
Oh,
But things like that, I just never liked the thought of.
no, no wonder. Of course not. That must have been rough. Especially if you knew them.
So we had, investigation I was on.
On a military base, though, right?
Edwards.
Yeah, at Edwards, yeah.
Probably because it was on the military base.
Right.
Yeah, they fly that airplane up to, from, Santa Barbara, where they built the aircraft, and flying up there. They do all their testing up there at Edwards.
F-84 test airplane with a long needle on its nose.
I forget what model it was, H or, that's the number on it. EJ or something like that.
Is it this one?
Oh, that's F-84. This one is probably got killed. It was a 1994.
Maybe 94? Oh, your nose.
Yeah,
Is that the one?
94.
F-94, huh?
It's a Starfighter, I think. F-94.
Yeah, that looks more like a needle nose.
Yeah.
You can bring up crashes and
Quiet Birdman, and it shows. I just searched for his name, and that's the picture.
oh,
Is that the right picture?
yeah, now we're getting there. That's one.
After Beltz took off from Palmdale on August 31st, 1955,
Yeah,
clean configuration.
exactly him.
He did
That's
not
the
come
one.
back to altitude before beginning the dirty stalls. At 10,000 feet, 8,000 feet above Lancaster's outskirts, he dropped the landing gear and fully extended the flaps. Applying full right rudder, he put the jet into a stall. He cried, "Here she goes," his last transmission. The monitors waited in anxious silence for a minute. Then the pilot of a chase helicopter reported a fire on the ground 3.5 miles north of Lancaster.
That's the one.
Yeah,
So he was
yeah.
doing stalls, and then I guess it ended
Yeah.
up crashing. So. No parachute. He was 44.
His name was Stanley Beltz? Or Jack Beltz?
It says, Air Force investigation concluded that Beltz had made no attempt to exit the aircraft. Officials concluded he had apparently been unconscious at the time of the crash,
Oh.
perhaps from hitting his head against the cockpit canopy during the stall. Why he had not climbed back up to altitude after the first round of stalls, and why he was unable to regain control of the aircraft remain unanswered questions.
It was 2 months before I was born. That accident happened 2 months before I was born.
Yeah, it says one of the most.
Yep.
Did they have kids?
Yeah. She had one daughter, about 8 years old,
Wow.
and this left the daughter and everything. She committed suicide.
It says he was the
Jeez.
youngest of 12 children in a Russian-German immigrant family.
Beltz,
He
yeah.
didn't-
Yeah, he was one of the youngest of 12 children in a Russian-German immigrant family. Had worked his way up from humble beginnings as a well-paid test pilot's job,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it mentions that at the end. The wife committing suicide.
And so I
think nowadays they can go
she
into
came
zapping.
over and got
It's like-
this
They can break it up. Yeah.
engineer, and he drove me all the way down to LA at Cedars Hospital there. And I always had the first time I'd ever taken drugs, I felt so good. It was they jammed me full of drugs, and they finally decided what it was, and they went up and they took that skinny cell off from me. And anyway, he was the guy that moved into that house next door.
After Beltz died,
Yeah.
Beltz was your neighbor, and then he died, and then this other guy moved in, and he took you to the hospital.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, that's a experience. It's quite a life for me.
Yeah, for sure.
And,
You don't have to be a hero, but living 98 years, and that's pretty heroic. That's a heroic. That's a heroic event. You don't have to be a hero, but you've done something heroic getting this far.
Anything else you wish you had tried or done?
Huh?
Is there anything else you wish you had tried or done?
well, that's a good one.
Nothing that you ever wanted to do that you just
You never went skydiving. Alex was going to take you skydiving.
That's right, yeah. But then I quit.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. No, I mean, it was an emergency, but I didn't have any emergencies. Yeah, I would have to do that.
Oh, you mean skydive out of the plane? You had your emergency landings, right? But you never practiced it? In the Air Force, you had to practice skydiving, didn't you? Jumping out of the plane?
Did you have emergency parachutes in the B-17?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
To ditch if you had to?
Yeah. Emergencies. Part of the trade up in Las Vegas is for a crew, B-17 crew member. You had to jump off a platform and you're hanging on bungee cords.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they still do that at
They do, yeah.
basic
Yeah.
jump school in where's that?
And
I can't remember.
you
Yeah.
jump,
I've seen that in the movie.
and you get the same effect as a jump in the chute open.
Yeah, it feels like the parachute's opening and you land and then
Yeah.
slide down the wire, I think, on
That's
it.
the closest thing I got to do it.
And then you do a little PLF at the bottom and a little roll to practice.
Yeah, that's right. The roll when you land. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen that in the movies.
Yeah, that's the Army's basic jump school.
Who would ask that question? Well, who asked that question?
I can't remember.
Who was?
Maybe that was the night before when Matt was there. You were telling. He was so shocked.
No, he should have been here. They want to know where all my girlfriends. Oh, if I had a lot of girlfriends.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I used to work dispatch up at United before I got as flight engineer for United.
Mm-hmm.
I had this fancy car, pretty nice, and the terminal was up about a quarter mile up from the United Cafeteria or SFO.
Mm-hmm.
So I walk out there, and there'd always be stewardesses waiting around there. In those days, the gals were cute. You know, and nothing,
All unmarried and cute. Yeah.
nothing like you had nowadays is pathetic. 70-year-old
You
gal.
could be old and fat, and
Yeah.
anybody can,
Yeah.
or men.
Lots of men now,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I walk up out there and just the shuttle bus would take them up to the terminal, a quarter mile up the road there to the terminal. And there was this a little terminal there in those days. So I asked if they want to ride.
Yeah.
So they said sure. So they hop in because they all knew me because I worked the crew desk. See,
Oh, so they'd see you. Yeah.
I could assign them to various flights that weren't worth the time.
It was up to him. Give him a good flight or give him a lousy flight.
Uh-huh.
So I ran out there and asked them how to ride to the terminal. And they would use that old shuttle bus used to come up there. So I said, sure. So they hopped in and we drive a quarter mile. And she said, and say, well, it's you kind of like your ride. You can. And so he said, what can I do to pay you? Well, I could sit here and have a couple of smooches. And those guys are cute, you know. So we sit there for a couple more minutes, and we sit and smooch and yak away, and yeah. And then they go in and catch the next flight. Up at United Dispatch, and there's gals are always parties going around in San Mateo and San Bruno and all those towns in there, and they'd call them up and tell them what flight they're going to take in the morning. Geez. So they say, well, why'd you stop by? We're having a party.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be getting off in a couple more minutes. I said, okay, I'll stop by. So, God.
Quite a social life back
parties
then.
in San Mateo.
Party.
Grandpa, you old dog, you.
So,
Yeah.
one pilot, he stayed too long at one of the parties, so they wanted to take him home. He lived in Oakland,
Oh my gosh.
so we had to drive across the bridge,
Yeah.
take him home, and I tell you that old little, I don't remember whose car I had, but it was just packed full of stewardesses. Because I think I'm going to drop a couple off someplace else.
Yeah, on the way.
But, oh God, one thing led another up there. But you can imagine what kind of a time I've had.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Good old
Sounds
days.
like it was a fun time.
Mm-hmm. Fun time.
The thing is, see, one time I was in LAS, had a lousy job or something, and my buddy on the Air Force, his name was Bob Rutherford. Yeah, Bob Rutherford. Well, he already had a job at dispatch up there in San Francisco. So he called me up one time. Well, I know there's a vacancy up here. Why don't you come up and take that? So that's how I got up there.
So,
So
good recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, crazy life.
How long were you up there for? How long did you have that job? That just
Probably about 6 months. Yeah. He and Bob Rutherford lived in San Mateo. That's when I lived at, when I moved to San Mateo, that kind of like a rooming house. They had a room there, they had a bunch of crew members from the airport down there. They stayed at the English guy, Kelly. So, yeah. And that's where Big Lane lives.
Yeah.
Big Lane, she lives in San Mateo.
Mm-hmm.
And so she knows right where the house is.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Where you lived, right?
Yeah. Burlingame.
Burlingame. Huh?
Next town from San Mateo is Burlingame.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of these stewards and pilots and everybody. We all knew each other because we worked at the crew desk and all that. Gee. So one time I went down this one party and we got that was the day we had to take this pilot across the bay to where he lived. But at the party, the guy come out. He had a piece of toilet paper. He was
Trailing
toilet paper back of his pants. When he pulled his pants up, part of it got caught and pulled toilet paper. He kept walking up there in the living room. We were all sitting around.
some hotshot pilot toilet paper.
I told that toilet paper along. I said, "What do you got? Tickets to the bowl?"
Tickets to the bowl.
Geez, I don't know. It's just one thing after another.
Funny movie.
But I never thought I'd get to be talking like this, telling you all these awful things.
So maybe telling your kids.
These are funny. They're not awful.
Grandkids all these stories. Yeah.
Yeah. And passed away, and then my mother passed away, and losing both my sisters.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of tragedy in my life, but I still lived through it and had some good times and traveled where I wanted to. So I kind of made up for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, lost a lot of family early on, but then made up for it with a lot of new families. So.
Yeah, you started to look at the huge family you started out despite all that tragedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine if they'd never met and none of us were here.
Right, exactly.
Taught everything I know. I didn't go to college. I just went to trade school and aeronautical school. I just knew I wanted to be around aircraft, and so college is for me.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
That goes to show you don't.
So-
Not everybody has to do that.
Everything I do was kind of self-taught. I think I still fix anything and cook anything.
That's true.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I try to do now. Is anything I ever have to fix it, try to do it myself. So.
Mm-hmm. So you can. Yeah, it's a great.
And as far as operations, I have one kidney and one eye. One eye, one kidney, and still I got by okay.
Sure did. 98 and a half, I think. That's more than okay.
Yeah, it seems like you had a lot of procedures that
Uh,
you had a lot of like little, well, not little, but procedures that you had done, and then came right back and lived so
Yeah.
healthy afterwards.
yeah.
Bypass. He had heart bypass surgery,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he had that bowel obstruction and kidney stones, and
Yeah. Then I had that from a previous operation, that stuff that wrecked on my colon.
yeah, that
Remember
obstruction,
that?
that bowel
I
obstruction.
couldn't even lay down around here.
No,
You remember Katie?